Composers and arrangers have long searched for an easier, more efficient way to capture their ideas. The recording of a songwriter's musical inspiration has gone from the quill to the computer. The new technology has provided today's musician with unlimited possibilities. Well, maybe we've made things a little too complicated.
Technology is not always a good thing for your music. If it makes you think about the computer, if you're thinking so much about technology that you're not focusing on what you're creating, that's bad. And I spent a lot of time using other sequencers, getting frustrated because I have a great idea, and I go screw the computer. I have another great idea, I go screw the computer. And by the end of the day, I had like this mishmash of mediocre stuff. And I said, gee, you know, this tool is just getting in the way. So for a while, I threw the computer away and just like recorded acoustic guitar tracks. And the problem was I wasn't getting the benefit of what computer music was all about, and that is give you a band at your fingertips, at your command, that can do whatever you want. And when you make a little mistake recording something, go in and fix it graphically, and it's now perfect. I mean, I wanted those things so bad. I designed Freestyle to be just what you need at the moment of inspiration, just what you need as a songwriter or an arranger, and not a lot of extra baggage in your face. It's got the power to do lots of things, but they're not in your face bothering you when you open up the program.
Introducing Freestyle, a new kind of sequencer. So powerful, it's simple. When you first open Freestyle, you'll notice the difference. Other sequencers force you to make decisions before you create. Freestyle lets you get started now. First, you're presented with a list of musical ensembles. To record, simply choose one that matches your musical idea. Select a player, click on record, and start playing. Don't worry about MIDI channels. They're assigned automatically. If you want to try your part again, select New Take.
What Freestyle does is it gives you the ability, while you're playing a bass track or whatever, to just say, I got a new idea, let's make a new take. And immediately you play. And you say, I didn't like that either, new take. And you play again. It's instantaneous. You've got none of this noodling around that you have to do in order to capture your ideas. And that's what's so great about the trackless concept. You just say new take, and you're making music.
That's what Freestyle is designed to do. Make music with musical terms and powerful features. A user interface that's simple and easy to use. Players are represented by individual colors. Check out the volume and pan controls. Freestyle may have a simplified user interface, but by no means are the sequencing capabilities simplified.
Yeah, Freestyle is the first sequencer that lets you go back and forth seamlessly between pattern recording and linear recording. It's a little hard to explain if you've never used a sequencer before, but some sequencers force you to only work in patterns, like this is my verse, this is my chorus, and when I'm done, I arrange the patterns to like in a little batting order and they play a song. Other sequencers only let you play start to finish for your whole song. That's called linear recording. Freestyle lets you do both, but not only does it let you do both, but if you've recorded patterns, it lets you look at them as if they had been linear, and if you record linear stuff, it lets you look at it as if it had been recorded in patterns. And that's wonderful, because other sequencers force you to think about the way you constructed your music instead of just the way it sounds.
You can even save your own song arrangements and ensembles that you frequently use as templates for instant access when starting a new project.
Riff metronome is something that I've wanted for a long time in a sequencer. I just found that in traditional sequencers, the first thing I was doing when I sat down was recording a little drum loop just so I'd have something to play to. I find it really hard to play to just a little tick-tock, tick-tock. It's just, I don't know, it's not very inspiring. But if I've got like a cool drum beat happening in the background, then I sit down and go, yeah, I feel something, you know, and then I like start playing and ideas flow. So I said, well, if that's the way I always want to start, why not just have the program ship with like all these cool drum beats, and then the user can just like pick one to start and say, ooh, let's play to this. No, let's play to this. And so that's what the riff metronome is all about. It's just like this little seed for your inspiration, you know, get you started. So we dig it.
Editing is a snap in the graphic editing window, where players appear as different colors. You can freely show or hide players to view any combination you wish. MIDI events can easily be edited by using standard Macintosh techniques. The music notation display is one of Freestyle's strongest features. When recording to a piano staff, Freestyle features dynamic hand splitting. Your performance is instantly displayed as it will print with everything available for editing.
When you print out a score in Freestyle where you've got more than one instrument, everything's in concert. You print out single parts, trumpets are in B flat, tenor sax is in E flat, clarinet's in B flat, you know, everything just does it automatically, so people like me can like never screw it up again.
When you're happy with your performance, you're ready to print it out. Freestyle may be the only notation printing program you'll ever need.
One of the coolest things about Freestyle is that you can control the whole program right from your keyboard. And why is that a good idea? Well, if you're playing a part and you suddenly decide that you want a slightly different sound for your bass, or you played one idea, you want to try a new idea, you just go new take, rewind, play something again, sounds not quite right, let's try acoustic bass instead of plucked bass, you know. You can do all these things right from the instrument that you're making the music on. And that's great, because if you have to go look at the computer, noodle around with, you know, all those commands and nonsense, it's like a break in your inspiration. Other sequencers are like driving a super equipped truck down the highway. I've got every single tool that I would ever need for my job, and they're in the back of the truck, and we're gonna get there eventually. And Freestyle is like, you know, driving a Ferrari down the fast lane of your inspiration.
Whether you're a professional looking for a creative shortcut, a MIDI novice, or somewhere in between, Freestyle is like a super smart point-and-shoot camera that quickly and easily captures your musical ideas. Once recorded, your new Freestyle sequence can be converted to a standard MIDI file that can be opened in your final production sequencer for finishing touches. Mark of the Unicorn's Freestyle is the very latest in high-performance sequencing technology in a friendly-to-use program. Freestyle is everything you need to keep the creative juices flowing. Get Freestyle and unleash your musical creativity. Welcome. It's time to go to school on Freestyle from Mark of the Unicorn. Conducting this basic training session will be the internationally renowned MIDI product specialist, Lance Abair. Lance has performed across the United States, doing clinics and MIDI seminars. His instructional videos addressing numerous chord products, as well as Mark of the Unicorn's Performer, have helped countless musicians get the most out of their MIDI equipment. Now, before we begin, make sure that your VCR, Macintosh, and MIDI equipment are set up and ready to go as Lance Abair walks you through Freestyle.
Hi, my name is Lance Abair, and I'd like to thank you for watching our video manual for Freestyle. If you're new to sequencing, don't worry that this video will be full of technobabble. I'll keep it as simple as possible, presenting the material in sections to help you find information more easily. Also, if I start to go a little too fast, you can always pause, stop, or rewind the tape. I'm assuming that you've already completed the installation procedure as outlined in the Freestyle User's Manual. Also note that I'm using a general MIDI module for this video. General MIDI devices are great because they don't require any extra setup. Now let's get started. I'm going to walk you through the procedure of opening a new file and recording some music. First, I'll go to the File menu and select New. A box appears asking me to pick an ensemble. I'll press the ensemble pop-up menu, choose rhythm section, and click OK. My ensemble appears at the left, along with a graphic editing view, which will display any notes I play. Across the top of the note grid is a timeline divided into measures. Along the left-hand side is a piano keyboard to indicate pitch. What we see here is a 4-measure section. Its boundaries are these heavy lines. To the left of measure 1 is the pickup measure, and to the right is the overhang measure. When you record into Freestyle, you should play along with Freestyle's metronome so that what you play matches Freestyle's beats and bar lines. Freestyle provides several choices for a metronome. From the setup menu, choose metronome, and a window opens. At the top, you can click on speaker click and hold down the audition button to hear what it sounds like. You could also click on custom riff to choose any one of several drum patterns you could use to play along with. Let's select one of the riffs and hold down the audition button to listen. Now let's try another. Now I'll select Basic Rock. You can easily add your own metronome riffs, either by recording them yourself into Freestyle or by placing a standard MIDI file into Freestyle's metronomes folder on your hard disk. Our third option is MIDI click, which plays the metronome sound on your MIDI instrument, usually with sounds in a drum kit. I'll choose the General MIDI standard drum kit for my sound source. Then I'll click the cursor in the downbeat pitch box, and as I play notes on my keyboard, notice that whatever note I play shows up in the box. I'll choose E4 for the downbeat and tab down to the other beat's pitch box and set it to F4. Now hold down Audition again. You're able to save this metronome preference by clicking Save as Default and clicking OK. Then every time you open a new Freestyle file, your favorite metronome setting will be waiting for you. I'll go back and check the Custom Riff button and leave the Sound During Record box checked so that the riff metronome will only play during recording. Now I'll click OK. Freestyle has a powerful set of loop recording features. Loop recording works much like a drum machine in that you create a number of measures that play over and over again, giving you the opportunity to add music each time the music repeats. You can even change players throughout this process. You can manually set the beginning and ending points for a record loop by going to the Record menu, choosing Set Record Loop, and typing in your preferences. Or you can select Auto Loop Record, which is what I'll do. Auto Loop Record lets me play as long as I wish, automatically sensing when I've stopped, and then begins looping over the measures where I played. I'll also make sure Wait for Note is selected so that recording won't start until I do. I'll leave the tempo set to 120 and click on the electric piano player for my first take. Speaking of takes, often I have to play a part several times through before I can get it the way I want it. That's what the take column is all about. Anytime I'm not satisfied with something I played, I'll choose another take. Since Freestyle never forgets a take, I can go back and listen to all my takes to see which one I like the best. It'll be easier to understand if you watch me do it. Now, after verifying that the record light is on, I'll click play to begin. The riff metronome starts and Freestyle cycles in the pickup bar, waiting for me to play the first note. Here I go. After 4 measures, I stop playing and wait for Freestyle to automatically set up my 4-measure loop. There it is. Notice the repeat signs at measures 1 and 5. Let's try another take, so I'll choose New Take and try again. Now for a bass part. Now I want to record my own drum part, so I'll go to the metronome and switch over to midi click. I'll record enable drums and wait for the loop to come around again. Now I'll stop after playing a sloppy drum track. I'll show you how to fix it later. I'll give my first section a name by going to the Song menu and choosing Rename Section. I'll name it Intro and click OK. The name now appears in the View pop-up menu at the top left of the graphic editing window. There are some powerful and versatile zoom features in Freestyle. I'll show you a few now. I'm sure you've noticed that as notes are recorded, they instantly appear as colored bars in the graphic view. I'll select the bass player, go to the Windows menu, and select Zoom to Fit, or type Command / to zoom in on the note data. You can choose Zoom Back or Command J to reset the window to its normal setting. Also, Command left bracket zooms in, and Command right bracket zooms out. These command keys serve as handy shortcuts, and if you're an experienced Mac user, you'll be glad to know that most menu commands have them. Take a look. If you're new to the Macintosh, you'll soon find that using these keyboard shortcuts will become automatic and will save you a great deal of time. Back in the window, at the bottom left and top right corners are the controls for adjusting the magnification of the time and pitch rulers. I'll press on each of them to show you what they do. Here's the time zoom. Here's the pitch zoom. At the top of the graphic editing view are some buttons, one for the graphic editing and the other for notation. Let's take a look at our bass part in notation view. You're now looking at a page of music in page layout view, just like it'll print out on paper. I'll press the play button and we can watch the playback wiper move from note to note. Whoops! I need to go to the record menu and turn off wait for note to make Freestyle stop cycling the pickup bar. Much better. Now I'll stop the music. By the way, there's something wrong here. I played this song in the key of G and the key signature is showing no sharps. I'll insert the proper key signature by positioning the cursor between the clef and time signature signs and click the mouse to choose G major. Nothing to it. If you have a small monitor like mine and you would like to see more of the page, open the magnification pop-up window and notice the options. From 40% to 800%, or you choose Other and type in any percent. Larger percentages are helpful when you're doing close-up work. I can option drag to zoom in on several notes like this. I can type Command J to zoom normal back to 100%. Now I'll go back to the graphic editing view. Here's a great ensemble palette tip. I can fully open the ensemble palette by clicking on the resize button. I can close it the same way. Now back open. You can resize the control palette the same way. Here's how to set the volume and panning of your players. I'll start the music again. To change the volume of the piano player, I'll press on its volume control arrow and adjust the volume control. To move the player's sound from left to right, press on the pan control arrow and adjust the panning control like this. This video isn't recorded in stereo, but if your MIDI and sound equipment have stereo capabilities, this shows you how to set the stereo imaging for your players. In our fully opened ensemble palette, let's click on our player's show boxes so that all recorded notes are displayed in the graphic editing view in all their different colors. In fact, let me move the show column over next to the take column like this. Now, under the Song menu, I'll choose New Section. I can also type Command M. Now I'm asked to name the section. I'll name it Verse 1 and click OK. This time I'll record with just the MIDI click. I'll go to the Record menu and make sure Wait for Note is selected. Select the electric piano player and start playing to automatically set up my loop for this new section. Now I'll stop with two sections recorded. A word of warning. In the event of a power interruption, we'd lose everything we worked on so far. It'd be a good idea to save what we've done, and it's always a good idea to save your work often. Under the File menu, select Save As. I'll name this file Freestyle Blues. Now that we've recorded a couple sections, we can use them to build a song in the arrangement window. Under the Song menu, I'll select New Song. I'll name this one My Grammy. And click OK to open the arrangement window. Now I can drag sections into the arrangement grid like this. And I can remove them from the grid by selecting them and typing the Delete key. Notice that each section has been assigned a letter of the alphabet. To be truly cool, I can just type their letters A and B to fly them into the next available position along the top row of the arrangement grid. I'll move the arrangement window down lower on the screen and start the music so you can watch the cursor moving across the section boundaries in both the arrangement and graphic editing views. Notice the names for the sections in the top row are shown across the timeline in the graphic view. Now I'll show you a very powerful feature of Freestyle, the ability to record seamlessly across section boundaries. I'd like to play a piano part through this entire song, but I don't want to do it a section at a time. Notice that the graphic editing view is displaying both sections of my song. Any song or section can be displayed at any time by choosing it from the View pop-up menu. I'd like Freestyle to play the new arrangement from beginning to end, recording from section to section without having to stop. To do this, I have to go to the Record menu and select Follow Song. Without Follow Song, Freestyle would only record into one section of my choosing. I'll select the piano player and reopen the arrangement window. After I start recording, watch the red record bar move through the sections in the top row. Now let me show you another example of recording into a song. I'll create a new section by typing Command M, name it Guitar Solo, drag it to the row directly beneath the main sections. Notice that it's already been record enabled for me with the red record bar. Since I only want to record into this one section, I'll turn off Follow Song in the Record menu. I'll choose Jazz Guitar, and as I play into the guitar section, notice that it grows longer. Here we go. This is the most flexible sequencing environment I've ever used. Let's talk about quantizing. The word quantize means error correcting for time. Everything you play into a sequencer is recorded with an extremely high degree of timing accuracy. Freestyle captures your performance at a resolution of 960 divisions for each quarter note. Quantizing allows you to shift each note you play to a specific note value, for instance, to the nearest eighth note. This can give the music a tighter feel. Remember my sloppy drum parts? I can tighten them up by using the quantize function, but first I'll mute the piano players and the guitar to make it easier for you to hear what's going on. I'll select the drums along with the bass to display them in the window and then collapse the ensemble palette. I'll also select Zoom to Fit to see all the data displayed as large as possible. Since I want to quantize all drum and bass events, I'll select them all by typing Command A. The events now appear selected. I'll select Quantize under the Region menu to open the Quantize window. All I have to do is click on the note value box to choose the resolution I want. Since the shortest note value I played was 16th notes, I'll select the 16th note and start the music playing so you can hear the difference when I quantize. Now I'll click on the Quantize button. To deselect the notes, I can click anywhere in the edit view and their bars become solid again. To compare this with the original recording, I can go to the Edit menu and select Undo Quantize or type Command Z. To redo the quantize, I can use the same commands. Now I'll stop the sequencer. A lot of people want to know about the swing quantize function. I'll show the drums, bass, and electric piano, making sure I unmute the electric piano. Then select all events. In the quantize box, I'll change the note value to 8 notes, set the swing control to 30, and start the song playing. Listen to the change when I click quantize. I'll undo the quantize so we can move on. I'd like to go over some basic editing procedures in the graphic editing view by using a section with a simple melody line which I'm sure you'll recognize. I've made a mistake and I think it's obvious what it is. I'll zoom in and take a closer look by option dragging. I can select any note to hear it like this. Notice that all necessary information for a note with a pointer on it is displayed in the status window at the top of this view. You can also double-click on a note to open the note detail box for even more information. I can also scrub the music with the playback wiper to manually play through the section. When the counter is set at the beginning, I can grab the wiper at the far left. Notice that the cursor becomes a sound icon. At this point, I can drag the wiper across the measures in either direction. Very helpful. Now to fix the wrong note, drag it to the desired pitch. Notice that you can hear the note pitches as I move the note up or down. Now listen as I scrub through the section. By the way, you can also use the transparent wiper handle in the ruler bar for scrubbing like this. You can also use the pointer finger to drag events backwards and forwards in the section. An event can be lengthened or shortened by approaching it from its right-hand side. As soon as the cursor reaches the back of the note event, it changes into a hand with the finger and thumb open. To grab the note, click and hold the mouse. Notice that the finger and thumb come together for a visual confirmation. At this point, you can move backwards or forwards depending on whether you want to lengthen or shorten the note. Always remember, if you don't like the result of a note dragging, the undo function will return the event to its original state. There's one more button at the top of the graphic editing view that we haven't talked about, the brush tool, and we use it to insert notes one at a time by hand. By double-clicking on the pointer button, I can open the brush cursor settings window, which I can use to choose the duration and velocity of any note I intend to insert. Let's say that I want to insert a 16th note. I can click in the note box and select a 16th note. Under Note Input Settings, I can choose to have my 16th note be anywhere from staccato to legato by moving the slider or by clicking in the value box and typing in a value from -120 to +120. I can also choose to have this note play as loud or as soft as I desire. The highest value is 127 and the lowest is 0. I'll choose 99. By the way, notice in the note grid that some notes are darker than others. The higher the velocity, the darker the note. I'll check the cursor snaps to grid box to quantize any note that I insert. Now I'll click on the brush box to turn the cursor into a brush. Position it next to the desired keyboard note. How about C2, which is the octave below middle C? Use the time ruler in the status window to assure the correct place in the measure. I'll choose measure 1, beat 2, and click the mouse. There it is. I can insert notes as quickly as I can click my mouse. At this point, I'll click in the arrow box to change the brush back into the regular cursor. There are always notes that you don't intend to play. To delete a note, select it and type the delete key. To delete a group of notes, drag a selection box around them like this. Or shift-click on them one at a time, like this. And then use the delete key. Let's talk about notation. One very important feature of the notation view is that it displays the music on the computer screen exactly as it'll print out. I've opened a new file and selected the piano player to show you how to place notes onto the staff. You do it exactly like in the graphic view, except that you have the benefit of doing so on a music staff. First, I'll choose the key of G. Now open the brush cursor settings box and notice that the staccato legato slider now gives you different note lengths that relate to the note value in the box. Here's an eighth note. And now a quarter note. Also, I found that turning on the cursor snaps to grid feature makes entering notes easier. I'll choose an eighth note value and click the brush button. As soon as the brush cursor gets near the staff, it turns into a note cursor. As I move the note cursor up and down on the staff, the note changes pitch. To hear the note play as I drag, I press the mouse like this. When I find the pitch I want, G natural, I drag to the right to set the note's duration. Notice that Freestyle automatically fills the measure with rests to ensure that the measure always has the proper number of beats. Now another G an octave below. And then a B. Freestyle's automatic hand splitting and voice splitting features may affect what you enter. Freestyle may split what you've written into two voices or onto two staves. In this case, just finish entering music into the bar, and Freestyle should have it written the way you want by the time you're done. Recording into the notation view is as easy as recording into the graphic view. I'll open a new file, select the jazz band, and click on the notation button to bring up the notation view. Next, I'll choose the key of G. Setting the meter works the same way as the key signature. I'll move the cursor over to the current meter sign and press on it to open some common time signatures. At the bottom of the list is the word Other, where you can enter values for any meter you prefer. I'll choose 2/4 time. Now I'll record a little ditty on the piano. Here we go. For a second player, I'll record enable the clarinet. Since the clarinet is the solo instrument, I'll move it above the piano by going to the ensemble palette and using the move handle. Now the clarinet staff appears above the piano. Let's play it. Let's take a closer look. To change the pitch of a note, you drag it up and down, just like in the graphic window. To change the length of a note, grab it from behind with a hand and press on it. I'll shorten this tied note. In the case of tied notes, grab the last note. This opens a box of note value choices. I'll change it to an eighth note. Now let's give this song a title. I'll select the text button at the top of the window and choose an 80% magnification to see the page better. I'll drag open a text box at the top of the page, go to the text menu, and set the font size to 24 points. I'll choose the Times font, then set the text to justify to the center. Since this is the title, I only want it to appear on the first page, so I'll choose First Pages from the text menu. Now I'm ready to type the title, My Little Ditty. To reshape the text box, I'll select the pointer and grab one of the box handles to shape it and move it to where I want it. You can write text anywhere on the page. By the way, to make the text handles disappear, click anywhere else on the page. To get ready to print, I'll select Page Layout under the File menu. In this window, I can adjust the margins for the first page as well as all left and right pages. I can choose whether to show measure numbers, where to show them, as well as how often. I tend to prefer every 5 measures. Another handy feature is the ability to adjust the staff point size to help you get your music to fit on the page properly. If you want to print out only one part, choose only one player. As you can see, individual parts can have a different page layout than the score. If you want to print out a score, choose the players you want to include. When you've made all your choices, choose Print from the File menu and get a beautiful printout. Sometimes during the creative process, dealing with a computer can get in the way. That's where Freestyle's remote controls feature comes in. I've opened a file called Seamless, which has several sections. Watch my hands as I control Freestyle from my MIDI controller. First, I'll start it playing. Now, I'll stop it. Now, I'll rewind it. Now I want to move through several sections until I reach a new section called Transition. I'll use the next player remote to go through the players until I find the drums. I'll turn on Wait for Note and the Record button and record the drums. Moving right along, I'll choose the bass player and play a bass part. Whoops, I made a mistake. I'll choose a new take. Now I'll choose the electric piano 1 player and record a piano part. Now I'll stop Freestyle. With remote controls this powerful and easy to use, I can record take after take, section after section, without having to touch my computer. Best of all, I never need to worry about accidentally triggering the remotes when I'm playing. I'll show you why by opening the remote controls from the setup menu. Did you notice that every time I gave a remote control command, I played a clump of notes in my left hand? Freestyle comes with an ingenious feature called a key clump. 3 keys that you would probably never play at the same time are used to prepare Freestyle for a remote control message. The key clump keys are C1, C#1, and D1. I hold down those 3 keys at the same time and then press another key on my keyboard to carry out the function I want, such as play, stop, or next player. Freestyle comes ready to go with a complete setup of remote control commands assigned to your MIDI keyboard, and they're shown here in the remote controls window. You can even drag them around to change them if you like. You can even print out a chart showing all of your remote control settings. I have one hanging right next to my home MIDI setup. With these remote controls, you can really keep your creative momentum going. There's a lot more information used in MIDI than just notes. It's time to take a look at controllers. Under the Windows menu, I'll select Controllers. An area opens up at the bottom of the graphic editing view with a minimum to maximum scale at the left. I have a file open which has 4 players: piano, electric piano 1, bass, and drums. The question is, what are we looking at in the controller area? What are those lines? The answer can be found in the type window at the bottom left. It shows note velocities, which refers to how hard I struck each note when I originally recorded them. In other words, the dynamics of my playing. Beneath each note's bar is its corresponding velocity value bar. Let's make the controller area bigger. The taller the bar, the higher the velocity. I'll simplify things by selecting only the bass player so that we can view only the bass notes. Much better. I need to use my scroll bar to show the bass notes. That'll work. Here's a way to use what I'm talking about. Let's say that I like my bass part, except for one note which I felt I played too hard. I could go to the controller area, find the note, go to its velocity bar below, and lower the velocity by using the pencil tool that appears whenever the cursor enters the controller area. I'll drag the pencil across the bar at the point where I'd like the top of the bar to be. When I let up on the mouse, the bar will be redrawn with its new velocity value. Now I'll solo the player, and when I replay the note, it will not play as loudly. Velocity is only one form of MIDI control that Freestyle can record. There are MIDI controller numbers for volume, panning, effects, foot pedals, and many other things. I'll show you two examples of using controllers: controlling volume and adding effects. I'd like to insert a volume change on my bass part. By the way, if I have several players showing, how will I know which player I'm inserting a controller for? The answer is whichever player is record enabled in the ensemble palette. From the type controllers list, I'll select main volume. At this point, my pencil becomes a volume drawing tool. I'll use it to change from loud to soft and back again to loud by clicking at the point where I want the change to begin and drawing a line like this. Notice the area beneath the line is filled in with the bass player's color. Now listen to just the bass part. If I don't like this effect, remember I can undo it with the Command Z. This time I'll get fancy and click on the Curve tool and drag the crosshair from the start point to the end point. You can see that the Curve tool makes smoother changes. I'll select the Straight Line tool and make another smooth change. Very helpful. I'll click the I-beam tool and drag it over all of the data and delete it with the Delete key. You only need to drag the cursor over the data as far as you do the lines. You don't have to drag the full length of the section. Many MIDI instruments, including general MIDI devices, give you the ability to add effects like reverb and chorusing to your music. Reverb adds an acoustic ambience, and a chorus effect doubles or fattens the sound. Often the effect levels can be adjusted individually for each player. To add effects, insert the effects controllers, as we just discussed. Here's a brief example of an electric piano before I've added some chorusing. To add chorusing, go to the Controller Type pop-up menu and select Chorus Depth. Then get the Pencil tool and click it at the beginning of the track at the desired level. You'll notice that I only have to click once and the effect will last throughout the entire section. Hear the difference? Playback loops are a unique and useful feature in Freestyle. A playback loop is a group of notes that repeat any number of times I want. Here's what I mean. What you see here is a 2-bar drum part that I've recorded. Notice that the section is 2 bars long right now. Let's say I want to turn it into an 8-bar section with the drums repeating for the full 8 bars. No sweat. First, I'll drag the section boundary over to measure 9 to give me a full 8 bars. By the way, section boundaries snap to measure downbeats, so I don't have to be exact. Now, to loop the drums, I just select the 2 bars of drum notes and choose Create Play Loop from the Region menu. Voila! See the repeated notes? They're exact clones of the original. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at them. Notice that the loop notes have a different shape. Their corners are square to indicate that they're clone notes. Now let's zoom back out. Watch this. If I make a change to the loop, every repeat of the loop updates automatically, including the original. Here in the timeline are the important elements of the playback loop. The start and end points of the original loop, and over here is the point at which the loop stops repeating. Watch this. I can drag all of these loop markers to adjust the loop. For convenience, they snap to measure downbeats too. Now, what if I want to slightly modify just one repeat of the loop? For instance, maybe I want to use a different snare sound in one measure. We call this a loop override. Watch me create one. I move the wiper to the measure I want to override by double-clicking in the timeline, and then I choose Override Play Loop from the Region menu. Two things happen. A loop override marker appears in the timeline, and the notes get curved edges again. Now I can drag them without affecting the other measures. To remove an override, or the entire loop altogether, I just click the loop marker icons in the timeline and press the delete key. They're gone. Freestyle has standard Macintosh cut, copy, and paste commands in the edit menu. These simple features give you an amazing amount of control over your music. Here's an example. Let's say that I'd like to duplicate this 2-measure horn riff 2 bars later. First, I select the notes like this. Then I choose Copy from the Edit menu, or I could press Command-C. The notes get copied into the Macintosh clipboard, and they're now ready to be pasted anywhere I want. Now I just move the playback wiper into the measure I want to paste into. The exact position of the wiper doesn't matter. The only important thing is that it is somewhere in the bar I want. Now I choose Paste from the Edit menu. The notes are pasted into the new measure with the exact timing as the original measure. We call this measure relative pasting, and it makes copying and pasting quick and easy. Just so you know, you can achieve even more control when you paste by turning off measure relative pasting in the Preferences command in the Edit menu. This causes the music to be pasted at the exact location of the playback wiper. Watch, I'll move the wiper to measure 2, beat 1. And paste in my horn parts. Cutting, copying, and pasting can be used to move music from one take to another, one player to another, and even one section to another. Just set up the graphic editing or notation view before you paste so that it's displaying the section, player, and take you want. At any given time when you're working with Freestyle, you'll be using 4 main windows. The control palette, the ensemble palette, the arrangement window, and the document window. The document window provides either the graphic editing or notation views. You can decide on how you'd like to have these windows arranged on your monitor by going to the Windows menu. Your menu choices are tile palettes left, which is what you're looking at, and tile palettes top. I'll select tile palettes top to show you the difference. Once you find a window layout that works best for you, you can get Freestyle to remember it by going to the Windows menu and choosing Save Window Layout. Let's talk about the control palette. The control palette contains a counter that displays the current playback location. Using the time format button, you can toggle back and forth between two time formats: measures, beats and ticks, or minutes, seconds, and tenths of a second. Below the counter are the transport controls. Below the transport controls is the record target, showing the player currently available for recording, including its current take number and the section being recorded into. Finally, we come to the tempo display. To set a tempo, either click in the window and type a number, or move the slider like this. One more time, don't forget the resize button. Now let's look at the ensemble palette. The play column contains solo and mute buttons. To hear only one player, click on its solo button. To turn a player off, click on the mute button. Sounds are shown in the sound column. It's possible to use a sound from any synthesizer, sound module, or sampler in your studio. Freestyle has built-in support for many popular MIDI devices. Some, including all general MIDI devices, have their sounds organized into instrument categories, which helps to organize your sound selection. For songwriting, I use just one general MIDI module that provides me with a full palette of basic sounds. If you want to take the time, you can set up sound lists for all of the devices in your studio using an additional program that comes with Freestyle called Patch List Manager. See your manual for details. Although Freestyle comes with an extensive list of players assigned to ensembles, you can also create your own. Under the Setup menu, select Player Library and then Edit Player Library. A window appears with a player library entry called Piano. Press in the field for the library entry, and a pop-up list appears with all of the standard Freestyle players. To add another player, click the New button. We'll call this new player Soprano Sax and click OK. I'll change the abbreviation to SOPR Sax. Press on the sound field. Move down to the reed category and over to the soprano sax. Since the soprano sax is the B-flat instrument, I'll move down to the notation section and set it to transpose any printed part to the right key. Also notice that in the top section of the page, I can have incoming notes from this player transposed up or down by octaves. This is useful for bass players when you wish you had more keys at the bottom of your keyboard. Now I'll click OK and add the soprano sax to my current ensemble by choosing Add Player, from the Setup menu, and then selecting soprano sax from the pop-up list. When I click OK, the soprano sax is added. Here's how to transpose. In Notation View, I have a piano playing a C scale. To transpose it up by an octave and 2 half steps, I can select all notes, choose Transpose from the Region menu to open the Transpose window, which I'll move over to the side. Leave the direction set to up. Change the interval to a major second. and the octave to 1. Click on the transpose button, and it's done. Before closing, I'd like to call your attention to 3 very well done help resources. First, the excellent manual. Second, the balloon help feature, which you can open by choosing Show Balloons under the Help menu. At this point, move the cursor to any area of curiosity, and you'll see a balloon containing a brief explanation. To close it, choose Hide Balloons. The third resource is Freestyle Help, also under the Help menu. This is a comprehensive online information center that will make getting answers much quicker and easier. Well, that's all we have time for. There are many more great features to learn about. Fortunately, Freestyle has a great owner's manual that's easy to understand, even for a novice. So use your manual. And don't forget Freestyle's online help as well. I've enjoyed doing this video, and I hope it helps you to better understand and appreciate freestyle. Happy music making.